We believe in you.
Who did it? It was me. I did it. All right, fabulous. Well, first and foremost, just a big welcome to everybody. I'm really glad you're here. I'm Jessie Lamb. I'm your moderator, the Vice President of Self-Storage at Notify. We're a facility operations and maintenance software. I have a background in self-storage operations, and I have the privilege of working with operators all across the country on improving performance through both technology and process. So I spend a lot of time talking with operations and marketing leaders, and I'm really excited to help kind of bring those perspectives in together for today's discussion. And today's conversation is really about that relationship that doesn't always get enough attention between marketing and operations. Because both teams really do want the same thing, more happy customers and more leased units. It's what we all want, right? But they often have different priorities and different definitions of success. So we're lucky to have three leaders with great perspective about this and a ton of industry experience to share. My hope is that you'll leave with a few practical ideas you can take back to your own organization and help those teams work together even better. So let's jump in and introduce you to our panel. So first off, we've got Melissa Stiles, who is the Chief Growth Officer and amazing human that you probably all know from her work in the industry. She works at Storage Asset Management, one of the nation's largest privately owned third-party self-storage management companies. She leads the company's growth strategy across marketing, revenue, business development, and communications. She helps hundreds of self-storage facilities improve their performance through technology, data, and operational excellence. Melissa is a frequent industry speaker known for her practical insights on marketing AI and driving results through cross-functional collaboration. Welcome, Melissa. We're so excited to have you.
Thanks, Jesse. I'm really excited to be here and thank you for that nice introduction.
You bet. Didn't that sound super official?
That's great. Thank you.
I know I've been practicing in the mirror all morning. And then we, of course, have Jennifer Barroqueiro, who is the Vice President of Third Party Management at All Purpose Storage, where she oversees client relations, sales, and marketing across a growing portfolio of managed self storage properties. She has really extensive experience in facility operations, team leadership, and third party management, and she is passionate about building scalable processes. She just driving operational excellence and helping storage owners maximize their performance through strong execution and collaboration. So, welcome, Jen. We're so excited to have you as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but certainly not least is I am so sorry, Gabriel Luna. I will keep wanting to say Gabe. That's so I'm tripping over myself. Is Gabriel Luna, who is a friend and the marketing manager at Daryl's Mini Storage, where he leads marketing initiatives focused on driving occupancy, strengthening brand visibility, and supporting growth across one of California's largest self-storage operators. He's passionate about connecting marketing operations and artificial intelligence. So couldn't have anybody better to talk about this particular topic. Gabriel develops practical solutions that improve workflows, support better decisions, and create stronger customer experience. So welcome, Gabriel.
Thank you, thank you. And you may call me Gabe anytime.
Thank you. I love it. Have you ever tried government naming your friends? And like, this is Jennifer. We truly, truly, truly could not have a better panel. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. You won't be able to hear other participants or see them on camera, but we certainly do want to hear from you out in our audience. So if you have any questions or comments for our panelists, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A, and I'll be reviewing that periodically and letting our panelists know the feedback that you have for them. So let's kick it off. And I'm going to ask this specifically to Jen, but everyone can feel free to jump in. But maybe let's start with why we picked this topic. What are some of the most common frustrations operators experience when marketing and operations maybe aren't aligned or seeing eye to eye? They're not in lockstep.
So goodness gracious. So honestly, I think it's, if I really had to put my finger on it, it's the biggest frustration is communication or lack thereof. So, like, I think it's very common to have these departments live in silos and they don't necessarily always communicate and talk to each other. And you said it at the beginning of the webinar already that everyone has the same goal, right? We all want to increase occupancy, make sure we have leads coming in and ensure that we're converting them all the time. But the two departments do not speak the same language whatsoever. And although I'm doing marketing here, that is not my background. That is not my forte. I don't have a degree in it, right? So for me, I lean on the marketing team and our marketing partners to educate myself as an operator and also someone who's trying to learn it. And oftentimes I'm like, I need you to stop using slogans or like acronyms or abbreviations. Like, I need you to dumb it down for me, right? Because we need to speak the same language so we all are working towards that same goal and making sure that we have free flowing communication. So I know for us, like as a company, when I first started, we had a different marketing partnership that we were in, and it wasn't working really well, and they weren't jiving, right? So ops didn't understand the marketing team didn't understand ops, and everyone was just blaming each other instead of working cohesively towards that common goal of, rentals, right? So when we made the switch and we focused on that relationship piece is when we saw like the biggest momentum over the past year. So for me, I think that's the biggest frustration. I'd be curious to hear what Gabriel and Melissa think as well.
Yeah, I would agree right with you that I think the biggest part is that bridge of operations and marketing, and really as a marketer myself, understanding what my executive team, what language they speak, what are their KPIs? Because as Jennifer, said, their KPIs are different from my KPIs. So if I'm talking a different language to them, that doesn't do me any good. So it's really I think it starts with amazing communication and rapport with each other, and I'm talking internally, your operations and marketing, and it's really to understand each other's language, so that way when I go to my approach my executive team, yes, I want to show them all the wonderful things I created, but I must speak to it in dollars and cents for them to for them to understand.
Yeah, I think like super quick, like one of you brought up like something really like top of mind for me. So like JC is our VP of operations and revenue management. And what's so funny is as I've started learning about PPC rentals and how all these things work and how to read Google Analytics and all the things that you two are well versed in. I'd always be like, oh my God, I'm so excited. This campaign, like we've had this many PPC rentals. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, what's our total rental count, Jen? He's like, what's our occupancy? So it's just so funny that you mentioned that, like with the KPI, because he'd always just laugh at me and be like, "Oh, it's great that that's going great, Jen." But like you got it. Like, he's like, "Let's focus on the whole thing." So we even built dashboards specifically around that, so that way all the data is in one place on the ops side and the marketing side. But anyways, I just a little funny on my brain.
Yeah, no, I think you're correct. Like both of you, like it has to be alignment, right, between those two departments, but the whole company, really, right? And so having KPIs that the whole company understands, and then how do they contribute to those KPIs, I think is the best way to also look at it. So, KPIs, in storage, rentals, occupancy, leads, those kind of pieces. And so you have those overall KPIs that everyone knows and everyone's aiming for, and then you can work backwards from there, and ops can have their own set of KPIs that are funneling up in this case instead of a funnel down, but up to those other KPIs in marketing too, the same way. So I think that overall alignment of KPIs, the dashboard, everyone can see it every day, is essential too.
Big time. I think that's such an insightful point. And, I think I've seen an example of this play out between operations and marketing, this exact tension. And I'll give you a specific example that I think at least a half a dozen times I've seen play out, which is marketing has the goal of getting more leads, right? And operations has a goal of converting leads. So the operation side says, don't give me trash leads because then it makes me look like I can't convert right? And I'm getting judged on conversion and you're getting judged on production, right? So I think that's where there's a little bit of misalignment and misunderstanding in both the communication and in the goals of the two separate teams. So I'll throw it back to Melissa, and ask you, so how do you, in that particular example, but I think this could kind of be extrapolated to like any KPI misalignment there. How do you balance, the quality with the quantity and giving operations, you know, a layup essentially with your leads?
Yeah, I think we're lucky to be in self-storage because we don't see a lot of those trash leads per se because no one's just browsing for storage like they are for other things, right? Like you're not just looking at your local storage website just to understand, what they have. You most of the time when people seek out self-storage and start to be in that lead process, they have the intent and they have the need for storage. So I think we're lucky in that sense of there's other businesses where you can get a lot of false leads and unqualified leads, but in storage, most people have an intent. I will say so. I mean, just looking at that at a different way is you can look at the lifetime value and start to understand the different lead sources and to Jen's point, what is converting the best then as well. So that's how I would look at the lead volume versus quality is that not in our business do we have like those trash leads per se as much. But what we can look at is what leads are the best converting, which give us the best lifetime value, and then start to hone in and understand that quality of lead from that standpoint.
I think
Yeah,
that that's a great point that you got there about, and which I think just shows your balance between a marketer's perspective and an operator's perspective. Looking at, you know, maybe all leads are great, and we do want all leads. Although I do dispute your point that nobody is just looking at a self-storage website just for fun.
I mean, we are in the industry, right? But if you actually need storage, I don't think you're browsing it like I do like TikTok. So,
Um, but to your point, I do think that that's, a valuable perspective, and I think a product of your experience, that you're not just looking at, how many leads can we get you like maybe a more generic marketing agency would be, but you've got the balance between an operator's perspective and a marketer's perspective to look at where are we getting the best leads that are staying with us the longest and paying the most rent. So.
yeah.
And Gabriel, I think you had a point on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to double down on that. I think this is like a compounding answer. I'm just going to answer every question the same, where it's it's just rapport, right? Like I agree. Having an amazing rapport with marketing and operations, it's like you're building the pipeline together. Like I'm in charge of I kind of see it as the offense or the front side, right? Or and then versus the back side or the defense. And when you work on things together, when you're involved in pricing and promotions as a marketer. And as a marketer, I would encourage you to go to your executive team and ask to be invited to those meetings. You should be sitting in those meetings and listening and learning as a marketer. Like you got to learn that language. I spent so much time in the marketing, siloed in marketing where I've been learning all my marketing KPI so I can talk marketing. It took me my 9-year career here in self-storage to really learn the operational side, to learn like all the stuff that y'all are concerned and what they look at every single morning and day, and it's completely different from mine. So when I learned that and I could finally talk their talk, then they helped me walk the walk, right? Like, and we build those programs together, so there's no contention because we're building that thing together. Like we all built, horrible leads if that's what it was together, and so we climb out of a hole
Perfect.
together too, and we move together. And I feel even here, so at Daryl's, I'm so blessed, even in my career, that I've had operators over me that really kind of took marketing under their wings and said, "We're going this way," And I still have that today, where I feel a little Laverne and Shirley taking steps, together, and
Love
that's
that.
how it should be.
Well, I love that, and I think That's such a great point. So, and I'm so curious to hear, that kind of collaboration isn't built overnight. It's built partially on openness to collaboration and knowing that you don't know all the answers and you don't, um, have the path forward, the full picture without your team behind you. Can you maybe, Gabe, tell me a little, like, what is the piece of feedback that you got from operations that you think made the biggest difference in your marketing strategy or thinking about marketing for self-storage?
It's really the understanding of the people. It's, operations is looking at financials and numbers, but at the end of the day, like, and even for marketing, it's about people. I feel some of my most valuable information came from just, hanging around, the office after hours and, having that opportunity to sit with, Pedro Florida of the past and just hang out and have a beer and have a pizza and really talk work and inside. And I think it's again that rapport and communication that builds trust. And again, just that openness of like, hey, I need you to go to town marketing this month. Like these guys are breathing down my back. And the same, like where, hey, like operations, I need help because marketing's under the gun. Like, what can I do to alleviate, pressure? So again, it's just rapport and communication really. And I think just learning from the field constantly, even from the managers and assistant managers, maintenance crew around the facilities. I feel like some of those are the best conversations where I learn the real happenings of what's going on. I know we have this is what's going on in the field, but when you show up in the field, you hear all kinds of stuff. So again, it's always, I feel, the bridge of communication and rapport that allow me to understand what I'm up against, allows me to research and explore the tools that I need, to circumvent and or, expand. And it's just staying in tune with the people that have been, I feel, the biggest benefit to the marketing department.
I think that thank you for sharing that because one, I love part of your approach that I just really admire is that you get out with the people who are doing the work and hear from the people closest to the work. So you really strive to, get that information, pull that information out of operations and into marketing, I think in a way that makes your team, like you and your team, very effective collaborators. So
100%. I think even you with Notify have seen that with speaking, and you really get to learn those odds and ends, directly from the people. What was easy to me may be tremendously hard for someone else for some unforeseen reason. So again, it's really important to stay in tune and ask questions and build rapport and show up with donuts and do what you need to do to make sure that you build that trust and people want to talk to you and tell you the real, like there's sometimes where the boss quote unquote might come in and you say how's everything going and the canned answer is everything's great. I feel marketing has that privilege because I'm not necessarily over you. I'm in a completely side department, yet I'm here that people will come whisper in my ear more that like, hey, we need this or this is an issue or what do you think? And so I really take that as not go to tattletale, but really kind of put those ideas in motion and action and say, what can we really do? Because I think when you have happy people, those are the people who are going to treat your customers better, treat your facilities better, and just all around show up happier to work and are going to be some of your best employees.
I think that that's a great call out, and I really appreciate hearing you speak to kind of some informal ways of soliciting feedback and pulling people out of their shells and into that great collaboration. So, question for the panel, but I'd love to start with Melissa. What formal processes do you have in place to ensure kind of smooth communication and between operations and marketing and track deliverables and things like that?
Yeah, I think we touched on this a few, but the formal processes start with like having the same expectations and matching those too. So, a shared KPI for that. But I think understanding properties holistically, um, if what is the what is the promise that marketing's making, and then how does operations then give that promise to the tenant. And I think that's probably the biggest process, right? That we look at when we look at how does it flow from marketing to operations is that process of the move in. So marketing's responsible for getting that lead, and and most of the times now it's more rentals are coming online. So, also closing that lead too, but there is an operational part of when they show up to that facility. Does it look the same way it is? Can they easily find their unit? Is the property clean? Those type of things for there. So I don't know if there's like a formal process for that other than when you look at like shared alignment on the backside and understanding that, but understanding what the move-in process is being promised to the tenant, and then what does it look like? Those two have to be aligned.
I think that that is a great call out to the customer journey, which I think that marketing and operations both have shared responsibility for.
Mhm.
And I think is kind of one point of really important collaboration between the two. Um, at what point, and maybe open it up to the panel, and I'm so curious about your answers. At what point does the customer experience stop being marketing's responsibility and start being operations responsibility?
I think it's really hard to pinpoint the handoff because it's such a meshed, collaboration. I always say that, marketing, right, riffing right off of what Melissa said, marketing creates the expectations while operations delivers them. And marketing should never be surprising operations. And so there is that beautiful handoff where does it end? Like, is it, I could argue against my own offense defense, like I am, yes, all of my work is to bring people in, but I'm also looking on the backside to see what impact did I make and did I actually serve operations what they wanted? And of course, operations is going to be there too and say, this is great, but what more can we do? Right. So I always feel like it's a continuous, it's never an official handoff, like I'm done. It's really, I would say, a continuous loop, and maybe that's just my brain thinking in computer. But
No.
it really is, I think, a continuous loop, like a system where operations and marketing, it's a continuously handing off back and forth. This is what I did, here I give to you. This is what happened, I give that back to you, and it's just, improving, improving, improving.
I don't think it's
No,
just your brain because I see Jen
Yeah.
nodding and I see Melissa nodding.
Yeah.
and
Good,
Gabe,
good.
at my notes for this question here, as preparing is, does it ever hand off, right? Because it is a continuous loop. Even if you play it in to, marketing's usually responsible for getting the reviews, and that's after the move-in process. And so I think both of them, I don't think there's a real line in the sand that this is operations, this is marketing, but it's more of a woven pattern together, and they just have to work together seamlessly because it's not, up front, the marketing can do everything they can, but if they don't have like nice pictures and nice security features and those kind of things that operations takes care of to market, then they can't get leads to that property. And then, we go through that whole customer journey process. It's all interwoven. There's not one lined in the sand for each of them.
100% agree with what Melissa and Gabriel both said. Like,
Gotcha.
even, no, why are you saying sorry? No, I 100% agree with you guys. I don't even need to add to it. I just think that um, it really does go back also to the silo piece. Like, by not siloing departments and keeping everything together and having that open communication is key. So, like, even with, like, you're referencing customer journey, right? It just because, like, I'm overseeing marketing, it doesn't end with me, right? Like, JC jumps in and he does a rental and he goes to a competitor site and does a test rental. And that collaboration together is what has helped make us, really improve over the past year because he has an idea from an operator mindset and I also do. But then we partner with our marketing team and we're like, is this possible? Can this be done? Let's talk about it. So I don't think, I just 100% agree. I don't think there's ever a handoff. And I think that the ideas flowing both ways and making sure that there's never ever any finger pointing, right? Like Gabriel mentioned, like we don't pass off the lead, right? Like I want to hear more. I want to know how it's going so I know if what I'm doing is working. It's that way there's never that blame game about where something potentially went wrong with the customer journey.
Well, I think a couple of really great call outs there, right? Which is in our utopia, there is a, perfect synchronicity and collaboration between marketing and operations where, you know, marketing produces the lead and there's a seamless move-in process and the customer journey is super easy and the property is really easy to navigate and the customer moves into their unit and they're super happy and they're signed up for auto pay and they never move out and they give us all of our money and then they give us a perfect review. And I think it definitely can happen. I have seen strong collaborations between marketing and operations produce that exact result, right? Which is why I love talking about this topic because I think it's important. Um, but I also know that probably all of us at some point have seen it go wrong, where marketing and operations are somewhat misaligned or there's some miscommunication. Or so I'm going to open this up to the panel and just ask you, when have you seen it go wrong? What was your learning from that experience?
So I think I can just touch upon it from when I first started with all-purpose storage management before we found the, partnering team that we have right now. It was all just wrong. Like it was there, and it's because
All bad.
no one was speaking to each other, and no one was talking. When they did speak, they weren't talking the same language, and it it was also that like the building rapport that we've been talking about this entire session, it wasn't there. So when operations would ask a question, the other side would just immediately go on the defense instead of the let me explain the why. Let me educate you on where I'm coming from and why we're doing what we're doing because this is the end result. And it just wasn't a great thing for us as an organization. And we suffered for that in the beginning half of 2025. And it just goes to show you that once you make the right moves to the right team and also the right strategy of kind of holding hands together, it makes the world of a difference. Like it was just it was a huge learning. I saw it right from the get-go when I started here, and it was the biggest change we've made that benefited us.
Yeah, I was smiling because Jen knows that I'm big on getting telling the why to get buy-in right from either side. And to your point, like if something changes at a facility, operations is usually the first to know. So if they get rid of a moving truck or they upgrade the units, those kind of things, that has to be communicated back to marketing, right? Because it's a big selling point. It's verifying the honesty of our online listings and what we're actually advertising. And so oftentimes, again, we've talked about communication a lot, but just that miscommunication or just that forgetting to let, marketing know, hey, we don't have a truck here anymore, or we don't have um, whatever feature or something like that. Or we added this feature too, right? And just letting us know that so we can put that through, our ads, our content, those kind of things. I think that's a mistake that I've seen happen, and it's easy to happen. It's easy to forget to just communicate that through. But again, having that system to be able to align them and to understand what's going on and to build that rapport, like we have. We're set up a little bit differently where we have everything internally marketing, and then we have what are kind of like account managers, but they're generalists and they're responsible for each region, and so they are like best friends with those regionals and really understanding what is happening in those local markets because operations has that information, and my team does not sit in those markets for that. So I think again just that communication loop for that is important.
Yeah, just to continue that in communication again is when the teams are being very rigid. Like operations has their like we this is what we need to do this month, and accounting is saying we need to cut back, and HR is saying we need to hire, and so it's like how every department's got their own mission, yet the missions don't necessarily jive with each other. And that again comes back to that communication of, how am I to complete this with less money and, not no help and, so again, just keep on going back to that, be involved in as many, department, meetings. I know we don't want more meetings, but somehow get summaries. Um, be involved, be in the know so that you can kind of counter this rigidness with how does these pieces fit together? Explain that, and I can bring a specific where I'll pick on Sparefoot. We were marketing departments just cruising along, and we're slowly reducing spend, and we think this is great. Operations comes in and says, this is terrible. Like, we're gonna go ham all the way, like everything up, go. And no explanation. We don't really understand the context of why. It's just operations is saying go, so we go and we pour it all on. And long story short, it's just a mess, right? It's like a mess of leads lost and a mess of too much money spent, and marketing's just doing what they're told, and I don't really know why. That's a perfect example of a lack of communication and different goals, achieving different things, and now we're just pulling levers and pushing buttons, and I don't know why. So those are the types of things that I will, interject myself in meetings to understand, to say, tell me, help me understand, so at least I know when I'm pulling and pushing buttons, I push them with fervor.
If it's okay to just because we've been talking about communication and like disseminating information to each other, and I know we had a question earlier when we were talking about like processes. So we use a program called EOS internally within our company, and when I tell you, like, I don't know where this was all my life, like, it's just one of those programs that's super helpful because even though each department has their own weekly meetings where they talk about what they need to do and what they're focusing on, the program allows each department to send a issue, which is a topic of discussion or things that they want data on, to another team. So just having this system in place allows us to have free flowing information. So every Tuesday we have our marketing meeting at 10 in the morning, and I could have issues in there from operations, or I could have it from a district leader team where they have a question about their particular store, or it could be coming from the executive leadership team. And then we talk about it on the marketing call, come to a resolution, or ask if we need more data, and we send it back. So I mention this just because that type of system, like I know not everyone can be on EOS, but it keeps that free flowing communication going, and it allows you to like leave these open comments and ask questions, and without, to Gabriel's point, needing another meeting. It just allows you to have that, and it's also trackable, right? Because sometimes if you're using Slack or Teams, you can ping someone on another team and it's not trackable. So then, kind of accountability can fall, or someone can say, oh, I sent you this message on such and such date. So by using EOS, like we have all of that historical data right there where anyone can go in and see it. It's just been super helpful across every department in our company to kind of communicate with each other. So just wanted to mention that real quick.
Yeah, Jen, what's nice about that is that you don't just have the historical, but then you can start to see trends and patterns happen too,
Yes,
and then solve for those.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. They should pay me, but for marketing their business, EOS. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, appreciate you speaking to the systems that are working for you. And because I do think that formalizing parts of your communication is a great way to, again, make it trackable, look at trends over time. And I also think that that maybe solves, for some of the gap that folks often see when it's kind of, who's got the ball? Who's got it was me, her, the other, you know, goodness, I'm sorry. My train of thought just straight up derailed, but You get what I'm saying. You're picking up what I'm putting down. Can you talk a little bit more, and maybe Gabe and Melissa, to the systems that you use for, maybe internally? I don't want you to share your secret sauce, but for formalizing those patterns of communication.
Yeah, I mean, for those communications, Monday is great for task management, project management across different departments and then what needs to be done. Um, tracking those and any type of thing. Monday has a CRM system too attached to it, just so we have the notes per property as well on it. So those, it doesn't have to be Monday, but any kind of project management CRM system that meshes it together so you don't lose track of information on a property per se, or something that's really localized for that. And then you also have that tracking mechanism too, of you can see what was completed, what was done for that as well. If you're looking at it from that point, as far as communicating it to ops or other departments.
Yeah, here at Daryl's, we have the privilege of using some systems. First and foremost, in the past, I've used something like Asana, which is much like Monday, another great program. There's ClickUp comes to mind, even something more simple like Trello may not
Hmm.
be have all the bells and whistles, but some form of, uh, I call it like a glorified sticky note system, right? Notify as well. Daryl's here. We use Notify, and this has been a great, addition to our, to our group managers who have the same thing, just disseminating information, getting people to submit tickets, and just having visibility, and all. So that's been a huge advantage towards the Daryl system. And then a lot of the stuff we're building in house. So I have the privilege of just working, through Claude and GBT and AI, and actually building much akin to what Jennifer described as the EOS system, actually our own internal, kind of ticketing communication system. So with the tools available now, I encourage everyone to explore. Like, there's amazing softwares and programs, again, like EOS, that are available today. But there's also, if for those who are, maybe nervous of the price tag and or want to understand, I think using AI tools, for $20 a month could get you somewhere in that ballpark really quick. And so, do what's best for your operations team or your marketing team or operations marketing team.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to that point. I appreciate everybody kind of sharing openly their thoughts and systems that they're currently using. And I'm excited to see where the market evolves, and where operators evolve their communication systems to be more effective internally. And to that point, we can't take our eyes off the prize, which really is to serve our customers, right? I think when we're doing it well, big picture, it's not I'm achieving my KPIs and I'm achieving my KPIs over here, and we're, big picture, all of those numbers mean something to the people who come to the properties and experience using our business, and maybe being longtime customers who, you spoke to the lifetime value of a customer earlier. So I want to bring it back to that customer and their journey and ask you, you know, what are the biggest opportunities that you currently see in the customer journey, or, maybe trends around kind of what's next for serving the customers of our industry the most effectively? And how are, marketing and operations variously kind of working together and playing a role in bringing those things to fruition?
Yeah, if I had to think of just one piece of that, it would be the reviews, right? The reviews always happen after the move-in, which is, and it's operations asking usually for that review. Yes, there's automated pieces, but we know when you do that personal ask by the store manager or the call center agent, you get that review more times than not. But why that's important is because before, reviews were about discoverability, and they still are, right? Google still big on where they start the search, but reviews were about discoverability, and the more reviews you have, it helps you in the local map. And again, it still does. But what we're seeing with the shift to AI and starting that search on AI, reviews are now about reliability and trustworthy. And that's what the AI models and people that are starting their search on the ChatGPTs, the Claudes, the Perplexities, Groks, whatever model they choose to use, that's how they show up on there. So people want, what's the best facility in Austin, Texas, or what do you recommend for me to put my things? Those are all based a lot around reviews. And so I think, both marketing and operations play a part in getting those reviews and helping to get that. And again, reviews are part of the after journey, but they actually are part of the journey to begin with too, because that's being used for a customer to choose the facility to begin with.
I really think with a lot of the advancements in the way the technologies, and not really in our industry, I'm talking about just the world in general, with conveniences on your phone and on your TV, that customers are expecting really everything to be simple. They need everything to be simple, from renting online to moving to finding information to moving throughout the facility. So I feel like opportunity is really operations and marketing, really, again, walking through in the shoes of a brand new customer. I always love to approach, and I'm going to pick on my grandma. I always say, like, I am my grandma, right? Like, I'm not reading these signs. I am in a hurry and I have low patience. Like, I am here. Like, what is my experience? I walk in, like, what signs do I see? Who am I talking to? What numbers do I have available? I really try to walk that as I've never seen this facility before and approach it. I feel, again, the biggest opportunity is, again, reducing friction into the customer experience, whether that be online, whether that be on site, absolutely, whether that be in the office in front of a person. It's like, where can marketings and operations work together to reduce that? Because we know, like, so going back to Sparefoot, like, they have, if you didn't answer that phone call, there's 17 more facilities in front of them to call immediately. And it's that first one to call and give them that feels that they're going to grab that sale. So my job is to make sure you have the feels from the moment you entered our, ecosystem, all the way to on our facility, and even post. I do a lot of work, a post when you moved in. Now, you would think I may not care about them anymore. Not true. I am constantly writing blogs and music podcasts, and reaching out directly to customers and really cultivating the customer experience behind the scenes. So not only do they have a wonderful experience online and at the facility, they say these people continue to send me stuff in my email that I care about, that I read, that I like to use. This is my community that I want to, stay with.
Yeah. I love what Melissa said, quite honestly, but when I was preparing for this and for this question, I had written down something similar to what kind of Gabriel mentioned, was just the friction points in general, but it's not just the online friction points. So like one of the things over the past year that we focused on was, obviously we have like AI, call grading, so we can listen to calls and get a transcription, all of that. But we actually listened to a lot of calls ourselves. And one of the things that like JC worked on with the operations team is why do we have these certain systems for phone rentals in place to begin with? Like, why are we causing the call to be prolonged to complete this rental and being an annoyance and a hindrance to this customer instead of just making it super simple, right? Like the website was simpler than a phone call. So, like we made tweaks and changed our operational process for that to make the phone calls just more seamless and quicker and easier to navigate from a customer perspective. But on the flip side of it, like the mobile user journey is like something we're still like we are actively looking at it every single week, trying to figure out, okay, how do we have less scrolling? How do we make it easier to find? How do we make landing pages for brands that have multiple assets make more sense? So and using tools like we use Microsoft Clarity to understand like where customers are, where, where the shoppers are clicking. Are they getting dead clicks? Are they rage clicking? Are they falling off somewhere? Did our tenant protection button not work? So that way we're looking at, we're looking at the marketing team with the website and understanding what changes need to be made. Okay, is this an operational thing that needs to be changed? And one of the biggest shifts for us on trying to alleviate the friction points was when we actually switched to Cubby in October for our property management software. And when we made that switch, it actually changed the online rental process where the credit card information gets put in first before any of the other stuff. So that way, boom, they've paid, they're done. So it kind of streamlined and made the user journey a bit more seamless. And even doing certain things like maybe we don't have the friction point of protection plan right on the screen, depending on when they're moving in. Maybe we get them afterwards to, again, try to cause less of a hassle and make them second guess us instead of going to someone else.
I think, gosh, I three fantastic perspectives and points in the customer journey that are evolving as we speak, and things that I've seen us take great strides in as an industry in the last couple of years, in particular, with making it easier to rent online and with collecting reviews and the type of reviews and when in the customer journey we connect with the customer so that it gives a true perspective of what the customer is experiencing that is really helpful, especially with now AI scraping those reviews for information about our businesses. So I think great call outs all around. We are almost at time, so I'm going to ask you my favorite. I'm going to ask you to brag on yourselves a little bit and tell me about a time when marketing and operations worked exceptionally well together and what happened, what made it successful, and maybe what was the takeaway for the future.
I'll jump in on that, and I'll lean right on. The first one that came to mind was Project Skynet, which was an AI initiative to basically take AI into every single department. So in this scenario, marketing was doing its own thing, continuing to show executive team that look how cool we are. And then they say, okay, now we need this to move through all departments because Mr. Cool Guy, let's do it for every department. And so really working with operations, working with, the president of the company, because that's kind of the power that it needs to be is meeting with every department head and going in and listening and sitting in and listening to processes and really kind of understanding all the pain points of where and how and being able to spend a lot of my own marketing time like in other departments, listening and understanding their processes. A lot of that and I have operations right over my shoulder, as this is the initiative, nobody says nothing because this is what we're doing. So this is marketing and operations on the absolute same agenda and mission, just plowing through the departments. And, we saved, in a nutshell, a lot of time and effort and money, in almost every case, even if it was a mundane thing, for the HR department, just scraping birthdays and stuff, being able to have an email show up and say, here's the birthdays for the month, that prevented 10 or 15 minutes. So did we save a ton of time? No, but we made her really happy. And more importantly, she's now understands the power of AI and is using it herself. So that's it. Like you celebrate small wins because a small win might snowball into a giant win for somebody else. And so in that scenario, again, operations and marketing really kind of, touching the departments and we saw great benefit. And I'm happy to say when I look back, a lot of those departments are absolutely still using it, gung ho about it. And I can say that company is absolutely an AI company across the departments.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to go back to reviews, and I think one of the most powerful things with reviews is that gives you that instant customer feedback. And so you can use that to start to see patterns at a facility. So if you get a lot of reviews around, a customer service, or you start to get a lot of reviews around the gate not working, those kind of things, we have them in the marketing customer experience departments to be able to show, operations, hey, here's some things that you can work on. And the same thing too, like we have those around, the website, those kind of things. But I think one of the things that I would really look at is your reviews, and you can, to Gabe's point, you can use, or Gabriel, sorry, you can use Claude or ChatGPT, your one, and ask them to show patterns or things that keep popping up within those reviews. And again, that just improves everyone within the company too.
So, oh goodness. So I think for me, and so for our operations, I think the biggest win is the fa the fact that we have actually taken the time to try to learn what marketing is about and all of the hard work that the marketers have to put into it, the entire team. I started with all purpose, and I actually texted Melissa and I was like, hey, like, do you have, like, where can I go to educate myself? Like, where can I go to try to learn something about marketing? And she sent me a couple of resources, which I was like so grateful for, but it wasn't just me. It's like JC and the other operators on the team, like we all took it upon ourselves to look at resources, listen to podcasts, read blogs, and understand where the industry is at with marketing and the things that we should be questioning. So obviously, like AI is a big thing. Obviously, we're all talking about it. So it's us making sure that we're reading what we can read, listening to what we can listen to, so that way we can go back to the marketing team and ask questions that hopefully make a difference to our performance in our organization. So for us, I think like putting our learning hat on and making sure that it's always on for such an important department in this company was our like biggest success from the ops side.
But I love hearing that from both sides. So I loved hearing Gabe earlier speak to him wanting to really learn, what the organization priorities were, what the sticky pain points were, and going out into the field and asking the people closest to the work and learning from operators. And then on, the other side, Jen is an operator, and with your leadership team of operators, looking for resources and trying to really find that commonality and that understanding. Melissa, bridging both, of course, with your experience on kind of both sides of the table. I think all of you kind of spoke today towards, trying to strive for understanding. And, the main takeaway that I heard from all of you is that when you do, the customer experience improves, the results improve, the leads improve, and we all kind of win more. So thank you so much for taking the time today and sharing your experience. All of you, absolutely invaluable. I really appreciate you speaking to the systems that you use and the perspective that your experience has informed. And I hope that I will get to have you all back on soon. So thank you so much.
Thanks so
Yeah,
much for inviting us.
yeah, thanks for having us. This is great.
Absolutely. Always a fun time. Okay, guys, you have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.